got one of the best glow-ups I've ever seen an NPC get. She actually now feels like the actual queen rather than a background character that just shows up to cry when we mess up.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that seems like a necessary adjustment.
So she has undergone what Bramble likes to call the Badbitchfication. she, she, she was that NPC that was just there in the background, just to be like, oh, I really encourage you guys to like do this and go on these missions and everything, and it's just like I'm depending you on whatnot. This book, she has actually grabbed her spell book and is ready to fight. Even if it's behind the PCs, she's just like, it's enough. Treerazer has gone too far. He's encroached. He's violated us too many times.
That is cool. That is very cool. So I think I might have mentioned this already, but in chapter 4, which I guess is my chapter 5
Mm-hmm.
of my War for the game, um, Telandia does make an appearance. So
Oh, that's so cool. But the thing I wanted to talk to you about was, and this is part of the introduction I wrote up for you. You did do the deep dive of Keonan recently. You got that out.
I did, yes,
Which is
I
perfectly
did.
paired for this.
Yeah, that is perfect timing. It's true. Yeah,
And you skipped, you did the unthinkable that no DM has done in my knowledge. Has skipped a chapter, gone on to the next chapter, and then we'll go back to do the other chapter later. Because it
yeah. I
befitted the players.
this was the yeah that was the story that we were telling. So I'm flexible like that.
A lot of DMs aren't. I can say that from experience. I come from the old AOL days when we tried to host online before VTTs.
Mm.
Like,
I think it's probably easier to be fast and loose in the way that I am if you're doing it old school at a tabletop, because
mm,
essentially, like, um, you probably saw this with in book 3 when my players like skipped a whole dungeon and I was like, fine. I think if you've got like all the material prepped on VTT, it's really gutting not to use it.
yeah,
But most of the time for me, it's like wet erase marker on a combat grid, and if I don't use it, it's fine. you know, it's not the end of the world. So I think that is. Um, I increasingly realize I'm playing this game a little bit differently from a lot of people, which is interesting.
and that's a good thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And that leads directly into Iron, your introduction. How was Strength of Thousands? Did that play out the same way that was in the book? Or did it gear towards, like what the characters were doing and what adventure you were trying to have?
It was a little bit of both, I think. I did enjoy it. Um, People got their happy ending,
Yeah.
quote unquote. Um,
DM was terrible, right?
Quite the contrary. I
Oh.
enjoyed the DM.
Oh.
Um, you might know him.
Oh, I don't think so.
You two should meet. You get along, I'm sure. Um, I was a little bit concerned toward the end because the way Strength of Thousands was written, it didn't quite feel the way that I thought 18th plus level should feel.
Okay. Can you describe what that is in a single sentence?
It should be like, very Lord of the... I keep thinking like Lord of the Rings, just very like epic in nature.
Mm-hmm. Was the table not epic?
The table was definitely not epic.
Ah, well.
the last battle felt kind of epic.
When you TPK'd?
Actually, yes.
So, full disclosure, for those who haven't seen my Strength of Thousands conclusion, they got to the final battle with the Mind of the King, and they lost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, death, the enhanced death, the spirit of immortality, that is one of the 3 aspects of the king, completely floored them with the final death ability. But Deja Moob, it says divine intervention is the only way for them to get out of it, so Deja Moob did give them another chance, and then they won.
What I like about that, though, is that there was actual teamwork involved the second time.
Yeah. In a Strength of Thousands game, you came together as a group. What the motto of the AP?
All according to Keikaku.
Mm-hmm. All right. So why don't we get down into the thick of it? And if we get Podfinder, we'll get him when we get him. Because I know Iron's time is limited tonight, and I know Mythkeeper is very excited to close things up. Shall we do a short recap of where we are in the story and what has happened so far?
Yes, let's do it.
All right.
I need the recap. It's been a minute since I looked at these APs. I know we talked about it already, but yeah, just a quick hits would be great.
Okay, so Tarbathon is the worst enemy of everyone who had ever lived, and everyone in Lake Carthan has to work together as a group in order to defeat him. But as that's happening, the representative from Razmir is attacked by assassins from Razmir, which makes absolutely no sense. We go to Razmir, we find out that there is this weird spore thing controlling people, and it happens that same spore thing is also underneath the town where we're having these peace talks and the Incarthan alliance negotiation. That explodes in sort of a terrorist attack, and we find out they were demons underneath green gold the entire time. A very popular elven settlement that is a celebrated location for a hero that defeated Slithermaw a long time ago. Once that is dealt with, you find out that these same bombs, or Jaharlu spores, are all over Keonan. And they could go off at any time. That's what sets off Spore Wars improper. And then as we get into Book 2, and say goodbye to the Delegates, we find out that the Queen wants us to go into the heart of the Tanglebriar itself and do some Mission Impossible covert operations. And these are very important to the success of the war, because not only are triumph points being counted for every delegate that signed Article 3, which is the, I believe it's the self-defense one, where you can help all the other nations with whatever resources you have. And that has to do with Tarbathon, but now it applies to Treerazer, because...
It applies.
Yeah,
It's a threat.
It's just very unfortunate there happened to be 2 ancient evils at the same time. Like, so close to each other.
Yeah.
So this is where a returning NPC from Jade Regent comes into play, Shalelu. And she is leading her cadre of rangers who helps you with these covert operations. You also get some neat abilities behind enemy lines. You discover a great deal about the Tanglebriar and something called the Haze, which is admittedly a lot like smog. It prevents any light from touching the Tanglebriar itself. And it's a wonder why there aren't more vampires around here. But, you know, there are undead. Get through the corrupted Fae, and you discover that the Spore Queen is actually someone from Second Darkness. She's a succubus.
Right. I like that. I like that little link there.
Yeah. She, but strangely enough, she didn't bring the Drow with her, or the Cavern Elves, or the Serpent Folk, or whatever they're called now. It's just like, it was just her. It was just her the entire time doing Second Darkness, I guess.
Yeah, there was nobody else. Yeah.
It was my plan and me alone. I'm a strong, very strong female character lead. Uh, I think what happened in that book was Telandia pretty much crushed her. It was just like, yeah, you're going back to Treerazer in pieces.
Yeah, that sounds like the ending she got.
But she's back. Treerazer gave her another chance, and she's kidnapping a Rift Warden, holding his soul prisoner in order to divine secrets, in order to get the Witch Bowl to be able to teleport to anywhere in Galarian, giving it a extreme advantage in this war, sort of using the Witch Bowl itself like a dropship for troops, right on top of the Ayadara. At least that's what the plan is, until the players intervene. They fight a reincarnated Slithermaw, or a risen Slithermaw that isn't quite alive, isn't quite dead. It's one of those undead that have special rules. You get through Deathstalk Tower. Calistria gives you like a whole bunch of wasp powers depending on your class. And
Right.
you pretty much break the woman again into 1,000 pieces. You free the soul, and as soon as you free that soul, you see that the Witch Bowl actually did get the ability to teleport. But what the players don't know is that it can only do it once, and it hasn't quite recovered yet. That is the point where we left off in the story, because you hear a voice in the Blight, which is actually an ancient elven wizard. And he wants you, or rather, he wants Sisyphix, a heroic elven witch that you also saved her soul as a banshee from the from Deathstalk Tower. And it's just playing on loop, where he's like, please Sisyphix, please anyone, help me.
Help us, Obi-Wan. You're on the hook.
Well, we got a lot of references to The Hobbit. We got a lot of references to Star Wars, Spore War. I think that's fine with me. That's good. We can do the pop culture references. But the thing is, you get this message on loop, and Telandia is there on the throne, right? And she's like, oh, they defeated her at Deathstalk Tower. Any minute now, they're going to call me or teleport here and tell me what happened, right? Right? And the adventure just assumes you go right to the soul prison. You don't contact Telandia. You don't tell her anything. She's just there on the throne waiting like, where are they?
Yeah, that's especially doesn't make any sense when you consider that she can scry on any elf that's in the PC's party. So she'd know everything that you're doing.
Yeah. Or Shalelu. At least Shalelu.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, unfortunately doesn't return in this book, which is very unfortunate. I think her and Alzarius should definitely be here. At least when it comes to defending the Ayadara.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I think most players will probably end up doing, unless, for whatever reason, the players didn't get along with those NPCs, right?
Well, it's hard not to get along with those NPCs. I mean, Shalelu is a pretty well-known character to the point where people were asking about her. And Alzarius. Stupid, sexy Alzarius. I mean, once he takes the mask off. So, before we get talking about the prison itself, I would like to take a quick look at the new Telandia, different from the old Telandia that we got.
Looking good.
Yeah. You want to compare her to, the one we had before?
I mean, sure. Do you have the art handy?
I do. Oh,
My favorite art, and this is a weird one, is her on the throne. Oh yeah. Do you have that piece?
In Second Darkness, I didn't load it in, but yes, I do have it in the thing. DM AIDS. Oh God. Here it is. Managing expectations. See, she seemed like such a young ruler at first, and now the crown changed with her too. The Verdurian crown does change with the
Yeah.
wielder. It's just like she's like it's a crown of butterflies and she's all happy, and then she's up to 5 packs a day, going like, why can't I get any sleep? And then now she's back in control. Now she's got her staff out, she's got her favorite spell book out, and she's just like she's had enough.
She's been to rehab. She's gone through the 12 steps. We're all good now.
Oh God. All right. So the players have to follow this voice in the Blight into Dim Crater. And basically what happened was the Elven Wizard's old mansion pretty much got destroyed and he was sucked into another dimension. This dimension happens to be sort of a soul prison for people. He's not the only one here. There's a lot of souls imprisoned. And the jailer happens to be a creature named Python. Let me get him up here. Oh, I'm sorry, the Python. Here's one.
It looks like a big snake thing.
Oh, yeah, Python.
Oh, is he? I mean, he's the devil, right? That's the idea here. He's just the serpent.
Yes, he is actually Typhon, the old Archduke of Hell. And Typhon has a little bit of lore you might find interesting.
Give us the scoop.
Okay. So, you know how Lamashu likes to have these love affairs with people to make spawn and whatnot?
I remember this now. Yes.
So Asmodeus found out this was happening, and he was like, not one of my employees. So he goes to Avothriel and says, destroy the Archduke. And then he replaces the Archduke with someone else. But Typhon isn't really destroyed. Asmodeus demoted him to watch this jail for all eternity.
Yeah.
And it's very weird. Why didn't Asmodeus like him having the affair with Lamashu? Isn't that just like, like fooling around on the job? Or was it because like Lamashu's like a demon and he was a devil? Is that like the reasoning behind it, or?
I think that Lamashu is... So what's interesting is I don't think Asmodeus is actually a devil per se, although he is kind of the leader of the devils, because he's a god and he was one of the original 8. And I could be wrong about this, but Lamashu was definitely one of the... She also is not truly like a demon lord, even though she's in the abyss and he's in hell. She's also like a proper deity. Like she's like a goddess. And they always have problems with each other, those two. At one point, Asmodeus put her son in an impossible to escape maze, but then he escaped anyway, and that was Baphomet.
Oh, Baphomet is Asmodeus' son?
No. Asmodeus put Lamashu's son.
Okay.
Yeah, Baphomet is Lamashu's child.
Okay.
So, I don't know. They always seem to be slightly at odds with each other, Baphomet and Asmodeus.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. So, now that we've set that up, and we understand what the PCs don't know, what they do know is that the Elven Wizard is being held prisoner here, and he is instrumental to the war effort. He was one of the original Elven heroes like Sisyphex and the Slayer of Slithermaw and everything. He can help. He can definitely help. But the problem is, where is he and how to get him out without getting found out? And that's where the infiltration subsystem comes in again. All right, let's take
Remind me again, yeah, I was going to say the mechanics of the infiltration, because this occurred in the second adventure as well. I don't
Yes.
quite remember what the rules were.
That's okay. We're milking it for all it's worth. F2E. So the infiltration rules. Building an infiltration. You have an objective. Our objective here is to free the soul. We have obstacles, and the obstacles work a lot like a chase, only instead we gain awareness points for failures. And the more awareness points you have, Iron, best way to describe this, and I think this will resonate with you. Do you remember Persona 5?
Yes.
Okay, so when you go into someone's dungeon, there is a meter that constantly builds in Persona 5, where if it reaches 100, the dungeon's master absolutely knows you're there and increases the defensive and does everything it can to eliminate you. You do not want to reach that threshold with awareness points, because that means you failed in the infiltration subsystem. Like, Python is going to be very suspicious if his guards keep dying. So it's not to your advantage to destroy guards or kill them. It's to your advantage to subvert them and also to pass by unseen. Because the less they know you're there, the less they think someone is there, the more autonomy you will have in the dungeon in order to do what you're doing.
And let's say that your play group is a bunch of psychopathic killers.
Yes.
And they want to kill everybody in the dungeon.
Yep. So, yes, you can do that. It is possible. However, not only will Python be alerted to you, at a certain point, Python will just go like, look, sign a contract with me. Go. Just like, I can't have you here. It's just like, at that point, you're just basically pulling on the DM and Python going like, okay, you're a problem. It's just like, I obviously can't force you to leave. You keep coming back every day. I cannot keep doing this. Sign the contract. Go. So yes, you can. Okay. You can bully him. You can bully him if you want to. Because oh, go ahead.
I mean, that's not my play style in general, but I do love that that's an option.
I think it's even more suspicious that Mythkeeper brought it up out of the three of us.
I've had some play groups that, they like to take everybody down.
Yeah.
You've never had some murder hobos in your group?
we have, but the fate of every murder hobo is the same. Live by the sword, die by the sword. That happened a lot in the Temple of Elemental Evil. I ran a corruption subsystem when I converted that over to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. At some point, the denizens of the temple were like, you're our new leaders now because you're the strongest. And it's just like, well, sorry guys, new characters. You're just too good at being evil. They've decided to hire you. Oh boy. Yes, or they really hate fiends, Ryan. That is very possible, because we're in this sort of dimension where I will have two champions in my party, one of which is a servant of Avathriel, now that I bring it up. And Avathriel was the one to smite Typhon. So maybe there's a grudge there.
Wow. That's actually really cool.
Story-wise. I didn't think we'd get something like that. That is something tangible I can really, really use, because Athenor in the group is all about the revenge. And when he sees something that's left unfinished by his god, he'd go like, I gotta finish this, man. Avathriel didn't finish the job. What's going on here? But Python is not very, he doesn't really play it smart. Oh yeah, it's definitely a plot hook. I agree 100%, Ryan. I do intend to play it up. Because Avathriel, he has been 100% on board for Avathriel ever since Ruzadoya in Wardens of Wildwood became the Archdruidess. He's all about punishing people in the Verduran for, not following the Pact of Wildwood, which was destroyed. So, Python has this secret room where he has sermons and pretends he's still Archduke of Hell. With all the evidence and stuff right there. Asmodeus doesn't want the secret to get out. If for any reason that the players discover that he was originally the Archduke of Avernus and that he was actually Typhon, it's contract time. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Interesting.
At that point, the module requires them to sign a contract not to tell, because this is considered one of Hell's best kept secrets, but he's terrible at keeping it. Yeah, Python, you gotta let it go, man. Oh, man. Yeah, Ryan understands. Ryan understands that he's humble bragging. That's basically what it is. And he gets a bunch of his followers to get in on it and everything. But when you do eventually free the soul, he's not willing to go because there are more people imprisoned here that he wants you to free. And at that point, you're left with the decision, leave now or free the other souls.
Yeah.
This is very instrumental for several reasons. One of which, we were told at the beginning of this AP, I believe it was, that the elven gods would empower your weapons, the relics, into artifacts. That is, in fact, not what happens, nor do you spend triumph points in order to create them or make them into artifacts. What happens is, naturally in the story, from the transition from Chapter 1 to Chapter 2, when you free this man's soul from the prison, the storied relics become so rich in history and part of the actual battle against Treerazer. They do what magical items do. They evolve at a certain point. They gain rudimentary intelligence, and they can act on your turn independently of your actions. So effectively, for every relic you have in the party, one PC was allowed one relic by the Queen. That PC essentially has 2 turns from now on in the story.
Cool.
Yeah, so their relics, no matter what you picked, activate on their own, with the provisions that you do not betray Keonan and you kill Treerazer. If you do anything that is anathema to that, you lose the artifact's powers.
Nice. All right.
So, that's basically it. I mean, it's just one big infiltration for Chapter 1. I didn't particularly like that because we just came off of a very heavy infiltration.
Yeah.
But if you soldier on through it, you get an artifact that doubles the amount of actions in your turn. So,
Yeah, to be honest, I the reason that I said, could you run this as like a kill everybody?
You could.
More of a classic.
You could.
I feel like from a pacing standpoint, that would feel well positioned here. And also I think that, what level are you at this point?
I believe you are level 18 when you begin this adventure.
Oh, okay. So yeah, at this point you should be doing some mythic type stuff. So, fighting your way through like a place crawling with fiends. I know that's not technically in the adventure, but it seems like a way that you could, I don't know, add a little more juice to this.
As long as you don't decide to attack Python directly, because Python can very easily wipe the party at this point for level 18. He is considered a very severe encounter, which is really good, because Athenor, being that champion of Avathriel, will very well may try. Maybe Athenor is going to end up in a soul prison. We don't know yet. It'll be about a year till we find out. All right. So, Any questions so far? Is anyone lost where we are right now? Free the soul,
No,
get the
freed the
artifacts.
soul. Yeah. And potentially at this point, we've freed, depending on what the PCs do, we've freed a bunch of other souls as well. Right?
Correct. And this is where the huge part of the reward comes in. The artifacts are good, but what really drives home the point about saving this man's soul is you get 2 super powerful spells. One of which is a type of banishment that basically eviscerates a demon and spreads their remains all over different dimensions. So it's a more powerful, more violent form of banishment that he was working on as a personal spell. And no matter if you're a spellcaster or not, you learn Purify Tanglebriar, which is huge. It is a rank 9 ritual, and it can grant you advantages in a fight against Treerazer so long as he is within 1 mile of you. And after the campaign is finished, you can use it to heal the Tanglebriar. This is the thing he was working on. This is what's necessary to heal Keonan.
Yeah. This is cool.
So really, really good stuff. Like the reward kind of balances out for the logistics in this case. And of course, you've got the war interludes again. Let me get those up here. Something happened with the war interludes I don't like. So they used to be like this, where it felt like they were cards you can hand out. Like at the end of the chapter, they had them divided up about where it actually took place. Now it's integrated into the adventure. The one on the right is the one from book 3. The one on the left is from book 2. It basically feels like a meanwhile while you're doing this, and there's no way to integrate the players actually into them this time, like Podfinder suggested last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually made it worse.
I'm fine with them being visually different, but now, like you've tied the player's hands in another dimension, and things are going on without them, and somehow, how would they know to spend a triumph point?
Yeah, exactly. The only thing you could do if you want more player involvement is kind of what I ended up doing with that one episode in War for the Crown, which is if you have a group of NPCs that are still back, in Keonan, kind of running stuff while the players are off.
The B
Maybe
team?
you could do a thing where, yeah, the B team. That's right. Maybe you could have a B team to do the war interludes.
The B team of all very attractive women? Of course I will have that. We had that in Strength of Thousands, didn't we, Iron? Didn't you have an all-girl team of students you guys constantly favored and promoted?
Did we?
Yeah, you did. Angsharut, Nox Solo, Essie, and Marima.
Oh God, we did.
Yeah.
That was an accident.
Really an accident. You wanna explain that accident?
The Megamiya does not provide lawyers, so I cannot comment at this time.
Oh, good answer. Playing that cavern elf lawyer in Starfinder is paying off.
Clearly.
All right, so Ryan does like that in that explanation. The gods themselves weren't involved in it, but we were really given that they were going to be in book 1 when it was described to us, but I'm willing to let that go because it's more about the storied history of the item itself and the players. It's more about the players have reached a point in their fight against Treerazer where the item just evolves like a Pokemon.
Yeah, and there's a lot of precedent for this. This is kind of like the relic system that we got in War for the Crown as well, where just the more heroic deeds you do, the item kind of grows with you. I like it. I like it. I don't necessarily need the gods to empower the items. I like the heroes, figuring stuff out for themselves, and I don't have a problem with this.
One more thing that Ryan did say, He was thinking for the war interludes, there should be backups for these missions, or for the queen to contact the players about the issue for advice. I think it makes perfect sense, Ryan. That's one of the things I put directly into my review on the Piazzo site, because every time we do one of these discussions and I'm prepared enough, I do the review of the module, and I want people to know what they're getting. And it was about what James was saying, to set expectations. Spore War, and this is really weird because Mythkeeper said, the direct confrontation at this point for the pacing. I agree with that. I think it's weird that Mythkeeper, of all people, had said that, but there is that pacing issue. Spore War is not a war. Spore War is a war of espionage, it feels like at this point.
Yeah, I think in general, my experience is that Izo shies away. I think Wrath of the Righteous may be the only example that I can think of where they did a proper war. I
Yes.
haven't played through Iron Fang Invasion. Wrath of the Righteous had like a proper like campaign management. But most of the time, something will have war in the title, and there won't actually ever be a war. Like War for the Crown has no war in it, really, when you break it down. And so often that is, if you're running that kind of adventure, that's where you kind of want to do a little bit of modification, because and I get it. Like wars are a lot of work to do.
They're logistics battle.
They're logistics, yeah. It's difficult.
Oh, well, I'm glad we did touch on that. That was one of the main points I wanted to make in this discussion. Thank you for bringing it up. I mean, it is a little misleading. We were said to set our expectations, but when you do see that word war in the title, you kind of get the impression.
You kind of do want it to be a war, yeah.
Right.
This is one of the reasons I swapped the books, was because basically it meant that I could do an actual war. So like, you'll see when we finally get back that we'll have actual armies fighting each other, which isn't in the book at all. At that point, we're way off on the left field doing our own thing. But I wanted, if it's going to say War for the Crown, I want there to be an actual war at some point. And similarly here, I would probably take some of these war interludes and do exactly what Podfinder suggested, and turn some of those into skirmishes, engagements, battles.
Yes.
My players can actually play in and fight in, and feel like they're having something of a campaign.
Yes.
Not too many, because then the pacing problem goes the other way, where it just feels like, because a real war is kind of boring, right? It's too logistical. What you want is a couple of highlight battles, culminating in a mega battle with Treerazer.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily like a whole campaign management thing.
So, Iron, aren't you doing something similar with Triumph of the Tusk?
Am I? I don't think there's a war going on in Triumph of the Tusk.
There's no civil war going on in Triumph of the Tusk?
Well, there is and there isn't. It's still in like the gearing up phase, but it's not like the PCs aren't a part of it in Triumph of the Tusk, especially with the group I have, because there are several orcs in the group, all with at least indirect ties to other holds. I don't plan on PCs like not being a part of when like major things happen, though. Unless they well, none of them are watching this, so it's fine. Unless something bad happens in Blisterwell.
All right. So
and then
go ahead.
And then they're just in prison and have to make temporary PCs.
Which is fine, so long as they have a relationship, like their cohorts and whatnot that you've seen before, that you've interacted with, and aren't just like, okay, make new players, you screwed up. All right. I think we've fully discussed chapter 1 enough. We have the relics, we have everything. We've discussed expectations. Now the siege of the Idara begins, because Treerazer's going to use that one teleport, that one trip, and he's going to go on the Queen's doorstep, because his goal is to kidnap the Queen in a 6-day siege. Day 0, you have one opportunity to cast the Purify Tanglebriar ritual, now that Treerazer is there, giving you an initiative advantage, giving you free triumph points and free torment points. If you critically succeed, you can get 2 of each. And it's weird, because you have triumph points and torment points now. Torment points are used specifically for Treerazer. They do count towards the triumph point end goal. And 29 triumph points, 29 torment points, according to the people on the Discord. Let me get the thing here. It was Xavian or Roland that did the calculations before anyone else. He is a super speed reader. He is such a good DM. He did this prep over a year in advance for his PCs because he wanted to know what was going to go on. So, day 0, you know Treerazer is there. The Witch Bowl hasn't recovered, and the Witch Bowl is actually going to become a character almost in itself, because we find out from the spirit of the Witch Bowl, through one of the memories that we're going to see, was actually a corrupted arboreal.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a regular tree he just, like, pointed at and said, like, okay, my palace now.
No. I think we even talked about this in, I thought we talked about this in maybe the first thing, that the Witch Bowl was rumored to be a corrupted arboreal. And I always suspected there's a location, where the arboreals meet. It's called like the Arboreal Moot or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you did talk about that. You talked about that in the Keonan one. Yeah.
And no one knows what happened to it. And there's also suspicions that maybe the Witch Bowl was that, or, but there was a bunch of like mysteries that they'd sort of seeded back in first edition about what the Witch Bowl was. But a big one was that it was an ancient arboreal that had corrupted.
Yep, we actually get to see that memory happen towards the end of this chapter. Because what's going to happen after the siege takes place is Treerazer will go into your mind of the players and see their past failures and triumphs, which I think is really cool, especially if they had a campaign leading up to this, where it's just Treerazer in all your memories going like, why did you listen to a turtle? Why is this bird talking? Who the hell is Glitterbeak? And all the while you're in his memories, and Zevgazug is talking to you, going like, "How's my little Shmooly going?" And you're going like, "Shmooly? Who the hell is Shmooly?" That's what I called him before he was sent to your plane of existence.
Shmooly is great. I'm only going to call him Shmooly from now on.
Yeah. That's basically his name. I can't pronounce it. It starts with an SM thing, so I just say Shmooly. But the really terrifying thing about those memories are when Zivkazik talks to you directly, interrupting your little interlude through his son's memories. He tells you quite plainly, he's just one of my spawns. I have so many throughout the multiverse. I don't like this one. Are you gonna kill him? It's just like his father I thought his father was going to help him take over the Idara and corrupt this world.
His father does not care about him at all. I think that's pretty great.
Yeah.
And also, I think, speaks to the nature of evil as well, right? Like, one thing I think a lot about with regards to Pathfinder is that if all the evil entities got together, the good people would be toast, right? Like if Ghost King Geb teams up with Tarbafon and they team up with Runelord Bellamarius and the
Yeah,
Baba
yeah.
Yaga and I don't know whoever else, then everybody's dead. But no, they hate each other.
Well, it's more. I'm just gonna go on a small tangent here because I have run Bloodlords. Geb doesn't really care. When he talks about people who say, "Who do you owe your power to?" and you go like, "Oh, Orcris is all about trying to claim, you know, like, like the profit from my talent," and it's going like, "I don't like Orcus. I don't care about him. Just because he's an undead guy and I'm an undead guy, his cultists are weird, and I don't care for them." It's just like
Yeah.
he straight up, Geb tells everyone, "I am responsible for my ability. I am responsible for who I am in my identity. Do not attribute me to any god or any person. The only one you can compare me to is Nex, and he is not here to talk for himself. You do not talk for me." That he is
Yeah.
very much an overpowering, arrogant man, but it's earned. And there's no way in hell he would ever work with Tarbathon. If
Yeah.
Geb were
No
to
way.
get the Book of the Dead that was translated from Greek from one of his liches or whatnot that Podfinder talked about, Geb would destroy Tarbathon and be like, "Well,
Yeah, you would.
back to
You
making
think
food
because
for the
they're
whole
both
world."
undead, that maybe they'd have something in common, but no, they would not get along at all. And I think that's cool, and I think that's realistic.
Yeah, just ignore his treatment of Erasne. Very good, Ryan. I personally think he's a big supporter of women who aren't Erasne.
I
So,
think he's got kind of a weird crush on Erasmus. That's my read on Get.
really? I thought he had a
I
weird crush
do.
on Nex.
Yes, also in different kind of way. Uh, I think he's obsessed with Nex, and he sort of, uh, I mean, he basically wants to be the best wizard, and Nex is like, "I'm better than you," and he can't possibly live with that. And Nex is exactly the same way, but towards him. But Erasne, I think, like he resurrected her. It took him a really long time, and he sort of feels like I think he probably initially felt like Erasne was like his child, his protege, and
Aw,
then as she
his
kind of
daughter.
grew into her own, yeah, in a creepy way. As she kind of grew into her own, he was like, "Oh, she's doing a really good job," and then she disappeared, and he feels horribly betrayed and annoyed, and it's all like warped with his like inability to understand love and like I don't know. I think you can do some really interesting things. I've been obviously prepping Bloodlords right now,
Oh,
so
yes,
I've
yes,
been
yes.
thinking a lot about what his relationship is with Erasne and how he feels about it.
I was hoping you'd talk about that a little bit. Yeah, it's one of those good things. Uh, I'll move on with the discussion now, but good luck with book 3.
Thank you.
That will be the hard one. But you did an entire deep dive of the area. I have faith in you. So the
I think yeah. I'll figure a good angle. That's my plan. Is to figure out a good angle for book 3.
You'll do a better job than I did. So, the siege is going on. It can last 6 days. At the end of the 6 days, no matter how many triumph points you spend, Treerazer somehow captures the queen. Not his mooks, not the thousands of demons that are pouring out onto the street causing panic that you have to spend triumph points just to do like these little damage control situations. He, like King Kong, just picks her up and goes, "This is mine now," and goes to the witch bowl while she screams, "Help me!"
That's not great.
No,
I have to
no.
say.
But the payoff from book 2 is immense here, because if you help the Fae, if you help the Arboreals, if you help Shalelu and she's still alive, you auto-succeed and get extra triumph points. This is the pull together moment where all the help you collected in the Tanglebriar comes back to haunt Treerazer. Like, every loose end he never took care of is a thorn in his side.
That's cool.
So, you go into the actual Witch Bowl itself, right? And you discover that Treerazer's been working on something.
How mysterious. What's he been working on?
A clone.
Yes, of course.
So,
Little baby Treerazer.
So we did talk about that with his favorite animal the last time, where we jokingly brought up Podfinder was like the little raptor with an axe that goes like, I'm going to betray my father. If you made a clone of yourself and your entire purpose was to destroy your father and take over his realm, why would you make a clone of yourself that could potentially wield your infamous weapon Black Axe and kill you? What is his end game here? Like, what?
Who knows?
Like, the Black Axe doesn't know it's a clone or not. Couldn't they use that free ability to pass it back and forth to each other at this point? And wouldn't the clone want to destroy the original Treerazer so it could be the real Treerazer, like the Mauler twins in Invincible? Like, you don't know who the clone is?
Seems reasonable, yeah.
God. It's not finished. It's half-baked. That's the problem. So the PCs will be fighting this one. It will be an immensely tough fight because there are no bonuses associated with this. I think this is the check to make sure that they're ready for the final battle. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, that sounds like it, yeah.
The Treerazer is lonely. He lost his dad's support. He just wants a brother. That's great. But something happens when the players actually get to Treerazer. He literally peeks behind a curtain, looks at them, and as they look at each other, they're brought into the mindscape, where they start swapping memories or going into each other's memories within this sort of... Like, the Tanglebriar has made this dimension that exists between dimensions that will allow you to see Treerazer's memories. And he will go into your memories, like we talked about a little while ago. And one of the first memories is, I believe it's one of the Witch Bowl, where he actually corrupted the spirit and everything. The memories themselves are immutable. You cannot change history, but if you make Treerazer suffer and play out the memory differently, you get torment points and special bonuses towards the final battle, because he starts feeling insecure about himself. But in turn, he tries to do the same thing to you, but you get a will save or whatever at the end of each memory because you remember something traumatic about what happens. This is the point where I'm really going to pull on the Wardens of Wildwood previous campaign, where it's just like, oh, remember that time Rosadoya got elected and you were powerless? Or remember this time you went to the lumber camp and you couldn't solve something as simple as a disagreement between the Arboreals and the Lumberjacks? And you didn't understand what the economy was? And eventually, Sifagaziv does contact you. And he basically says, like, you know, I'm really sick of him. I know you're sick of him too. This is not the start of a relationship. Don't even think that I like you. But I want him dead.
What does he give the PCs anything?
He decides whether or not to give him the true name, but he basically is
the Shumi.
Yeah, Shmooey. Yeah. He basically wants to get them to a point. He's seeing what's motivating them. it feels like almost like this Mindscape might be partially his doing, because he's so amused with what's going on right now that you're actually resisting Treerazer. He's getting to the point where he feels like he likes you, but will you be a tool for what he has planned? He doesn't want you to like him. He doesn't want you to work with him. He likes when mortals resist. And the more defiant you are with him, the more forthcoming he is with information about Treerazer.
That's cool.
So he plays into that whole elven arrogance thing and complacency. It's just like, good. Good. Here's what you need to do. And after the pep talk with Treerazer's dad, you basically... Yes, Disease Senpai noticed the PCs. So, after the talk with Treerazer's dad and going through the other memories, you basically get to a point where you can... If the queen was captured on day 6, you can rescue her with just hours remaining. If the queen wasn't captured and you assaulted the Witch Bowl, all the better, because now the final battle is going to play out. The battle of 6 armies, all the 6 delegates, and the Incarthan Alliance are here with their siege weapons, with Nimrothis's rangers. Everyone's got weapons specifically geared towards deactivating Treerazer's regeneration and stuff. The really sad part is there's 6 fresh trees in front of the Idara battle map, and Treerazer can cut down trees to get like that free heal. At that point, wouldn't you just tell the elves, like, you gotta make a sacrifice. Just destroy the trees. Don't give him that advantage. You can plant new trees. But I
think you're right.
He has to have it because it's one of the abilities of the Black Axe. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, that's why it's there. Yeah.
But, you know, the first thing my human wizard Palin is going to do, are there children there playing in the trees? No, there are no children there. This is a bat, and he's already thrown the fireball. Before battle's even begun, it's just like trees are gone. So, the queen will be a support character during this fight. She's a level 17 illusionist. This is where it gets really funny in the fight, because not only do you have all these triumph points and everything influencing the battle, you have all the memories influencing Treerazer of his failures, you have torment points where you can literally reroll crits, and it's very important that you reroll Treerazer's crits, because, let me see here. We went over this in very detail. Xavian, Roland again, was saying how bad the crit effect is on the Black Axe artifact. The Greater Corrosive Rune does 66 acid damage. On a crit with Treerazer, that means any non-artifact armor that a PC is wearing will be destroyed. So we'll have marshals running around in the buff during this fight if they get crit. Go ahead, Iron.
Oh, no, you're good. I bumped my mic by accident.
That's fine. The only armor that I can see that won't be destroyed is Slithermaw's Bane, because Slithermaw's Bane is an artifact at this point, and you can only destroy artifacts under certain conditions. Unless I'm wrong about that, but that's what I remember about the rules. And that's what Xavian said as well. So that's a huge thing to look out for. Why we call him Treerazer when he's the gear breaker. Yeah, Black Axe will be destroying shields and armor left and right in this battle. So shields are mandatory. Have multiple of them.
Yeah, a fortification rune or a greater fortification rune is only going to do so much.
Yeah, that's why we need those rerolls from the torment points. And the more torment points we use, the less of a favorable outcome Keonin will have at the end.
Yeah.
So, now's the payoff from book 1. It does happen. We had a payoff from book 2 in chapter 2. Now we have the payoff from book 1 in chapter 3 during the final battle. The benefit for Razmir is that, and this is really weird. So Razmir basically says to engage Treerazer, all these level 1 first step masks come out of the woodwork as a big troop and swarm Treerazer, and he uses his entire turn to cast a spell to eviscerate them all. And it's just like Razmir did his part. He held Treerazer for 3 actions because all of them are hyped up on the idea if they die in battle, they will go to the glorious afterlife that Razmir has guaranteed them.
That's great.
Oh, God. Nimroth's Rangers have cold iron arrows that they use. Multhune has siege weapons with special artillery that do holy damage, I think.
That's great. That's effective.
Yep.
It feels like the most effective thing is recruiting Multhune.
Well, that's just the big thing, and it's the hardest thing to recruit Multhune.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, it basically comes down to, did you have enough preparation at this point? Do you have enough of the delegations with you in order to win? Because the artifacts are nice, but they can only do so much. It's about the friends you made along the way. You could very well fail at this point, even with all the bonuses. But if things go well, the Witch Bowl collapses, and there's special effects and everything that happen here. Everyone gets hurt by this. Oh, let's see. Oh, Knights of Lastwall. Their bonus is really bad. Like, the Knights of Lastwall, they're basically just a free heal. That's not very helpful.
Yeah, I read that, and I was like, wait, just once?
Yeah, just once. Unless you spend a torment point to activate the Delegate's special ability again, and it can only be done once after that. You know what Druma does? Druma bribes Treerazer's army.
%100 on brand.
So they betray their
Stop
fellow...
them in action and make them off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's decent. Yeah.
What? Do demons have no loyalty to their master? It's just like, currency. I could possibly use this.
Yeah, that seems like a weird... I mean, it's flavorful, but it seems weird if you're fighting demons that would work.
Well, the thing is, we discussed in book 2 about mercenaries being hired by Treerazer, right? If it was
right, of course.
If it was the
Yes.
mercenaries, I'd understand that. But a demon that was summoned by a demon lord that only exists because of the demon lord, and he's like, yeah, I'll betray Treerazer for $50.
You've watched my episode 1 of chapter 4, right? Where
Yes.
Psychopomp is like, I don't need money. What do I need money for? I'm a powerful post-mortal entity.
And then he goes right to Diana. He goes right to Diana and says, pay the man. He's just like, you do need money, you liar. Money is everywhere in the afterlife. You're just a bum.
It's such a great moment.
I don't know. Maybe work conditions are bad.
What?
It's like that thing where, hey, would you slap your boss for like $100, $100, and then it's like, sometimes it's not about the money.
What, did Treerazer really treats his people that badly?
Oh yes, that I believe.
Ooh, Ryan.
I'm not willing to believe that demons will betray him for money, but I'm willing to believe that he treats them very badly.
Aw. You think he'd be a better boss with all the things his father did for him? Ryan says, like, Last Wall should cast a heal and a high-level heroism buff. That seems like a good alternative.
Ooh. Yeah, I agree. That sounds good. That's really cool.
Ustalov does a thing where they basically put necromancers to make a symbol on the field to do spirit damage against him. And the DC is a 55 will save. It feels like Ustalov is actually contributing more than some of the others. And it does the persistent damage. That's very, very good.
Damage. Yeah, effectively, and it gives him the frightened condition. Effectively, the Ustalov is as good as they do 66 spirit damage and then 1d6 for 3 rounds. So that's 96 total. It's the same as Multhune doing 10d6 in one go, right? Like, I think Ustalov and Multhune have got the strongest damage output of any of the other people that you might ally with.
Yeah. And
your Malthus is 5d6, at half as much as the other two.
Which is weird because he's the least invested into anything.
Well, it's about he is the least invested, but Ustalov definitely is, along with Multhune, the country that has the most resources. Although I will say I don't love the idea that Ustalov is using necromancers for this. I feel like they would just have battle with. I feel like that's a little off-brand. Ustalov is like got a love-hate relationship with undeath. So I don't know that the majority of their like official war forces would be necromancers, but you know, a bit like Druma, I think would actually have soldiers. It feels like they've painted these with a very broad brush.
Yeah.
And this could be more interesting than it is, right?
I agree.
Like Knights of Lathwall do more than heal.
Yes, that should be one of the crucial things that they do in addition to something else, like granting like the heroism, like Ryan mentioned. I feel like Druma should be using the black coats that you and Podfinder mentioned last time. I mean, aren't those the secret weapon?
Yeah, they're actually really competent, the Drumish army.
Drumish.
So yeah, I don't know.
Oh god.
They were just like, Druma has money. I bet they're bribing people. And it's like, Druma also is very stingy with their money.
Well, they don't like spending money?
All much money on people. No. The whole deal with the Drumish faith is that the Calistocrats basically have to be buried with their gold in order. The Drumish like absorb money. So
okay.
They're trying to get all this money because when they die and they go through their weird little, like, whatever their weird faith thing is where they get buried with their gold, they essentially get to create a bespoke afterlife for themselves that they can share with the other Calistocrats. So they bypass Pharasma's judgment and they build their own afterlife, and that's what they use the money for. They really hate to get rid of the money. They really want to just collect it and hoard it as much as possible.
Oh, Ryan brings up a good point. Druma's boon should be like they reveal their forces posed as the mercenaries, and then they spring a trap like that to prevent reinforcements. I like that.
I like that better. I agree. Yeah.
Ryan pulling weight in the discussion. Thank you, sir. So, why don't people rob Druma if all their tombs are lined with gold?
Because it's very dangerous. Because the Blackjackets are really competent, and the Calistocrats have got good magic and are very rich and very well provisioned. But people do. There's also in I think whatever the Druma source book is for first edition, There's like these gold golems as well that like roam
Oh
that
God.
roam around the tombs if you go in there. So there's also that to contend with.
They sound more and more like the Ferengi every time we talk about them. All right, so there's no more beating around the bush. Treerazer is going to die. His head pops off like a daisy and somehow miraculously flies all the way to the Isle of Terror? Sure?
Explain that. Explain that. So this
No!
is this in
No, I
is this
can't!
in continuing? I can't explain it. Is this in continuing the campaign
Yes,
where Treerazer loses his head?
this is one of the adventure seeds. My explanation for it is Tarbathon is right there behind a tree or something. He goes like, okay, I've got to wait for my moment. When they're not looking, I take the head and then I run. I just don't see it flying all the way from Keonan to the Isle of Terror. Like, the explosion from the Demon Lord's death is that intense, and no one in the area dies?
You're gonna have to give me a page number here. I really want to read this.
Okay. All right, so hopefully
I see it,
Treerazer...
I see
Yeah. So,
the most disturbing of all the rumors that Treerazer's broken decapitated head survived the explosion.
but,
On the shores of the island there. Okay, that's immensely silly.
look how happy Tarbathon is! In his splash art, he's just like, man, I was waiting for this from book 1.
Yes.
Oh, so Tarbathon got his book 1 payoff too.
Yeah, that good point.
Can you pull up the art? Tarbathon in the head, or is that not in the file?
It is in the file, but sometimes the file breaks because of the way the index goes. I was looking for it before because I wanted to bring it up before I started bringing it up in discussion. It's sadly one of the disabled ones that they need to fix in an update. I apologize for that.
It's a great piece of art. It's a great piece of art.
It is.
Even if we can't look. Yeah.
So the Horned King,
happy.
he's basically in an Emperor Palpatine pose. And there are little ghostly spores or mushrooms floating around Treerazer's head. It looks like, from where the glow is in his mouth, he's taking the divine spark from Treerazer. That's my suspicion.
Oh, that could be. It does. There is like a glow coming out of Treerazer's mouth. That's true. That seems reasonable. I also just like the idea of like an undead Treerazer at some point.
Yeah. Because his soul couldn't go back to his father's domain. He was banished, so he dead. Does that mean Pharasma's judging him?
No, well, Pharasma can't judge him in the same way that she can't judge, like, say, for example, Erasni when she was killed by Tarbathon, because he's post-mortal already, right? So everybody only gets two goes at life, right? You get your regular mortal life, and you come back as some kind of angel or devil or demon or whatever, and then if you die the second time, you're gone for good.
Yeah.
And some entities are like only exist in a post-mortal form. They're
okay.
And I don't know exactly what the story is with Treerazer. I don't know if he had a mortal life and then was born into his, or if he was just created by Sith Visag. But regardless, he's already post-mortal. So when he dies, his quintessence, his soul stuff, gets distributed across the abyss. And will serve to feed and grow that plane, which sort of created him.
Like communism? Like his power gets redistributed?
More like Buddhism.
Okay.
But yes, he goes back to the well, if you will, right?
Right.
That's what happens to postmortals, is that their quintessence becomes part of the plane, and then eventually the planes drain out into something called the antipode and gets, anyway, I'm getting too much into the metaphysics of Pathfinder.
I did see your deep dive into the afterlives and whatnot. That was, it was good.
So what's really crazy is, so when Erasmi died, right? Theoretically, when a postmortal dies, that's it. They're gone forever.
Yes.
But Geb was such a powerful necromancer that he peeled out all the disparate bits of her soul from the planes that she was. Because right, like I just described, when a postmortal dies, their soul stuff goes into the outer planes and just becomes like stardust or whatever. He like somehow figured out how to pull her back together out of the outer planes. And if Geb can do that for Erasmi, why can't Tarbafon do that for Treerazer? He's pretty powerful.
I see what you're saying. So Treerazer is going to be Tarbafon's queen.
Yes, precisely.
Okay. I see where you're going.
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point there's a big battle with Tarbafon, maybe like a big closer for second edition, the way that Tarbafon was a big closer for first edition, and that a lot of the villains that have been defeated along the way are brought back, and Treerazer would be a great candidate for that.
Oh, okay. Who else do you suspect might be brought back?
Let me think. Who else have we dealt with in the second edition AP so far?
There are a couple. Some of them were very minor though, like in the grand scheme of things, and some of them were already post-mortal beings, like you were saying, like Belcora. Belcora's come back twice now. That's unfair. Belcora was eaten as a ghost by an outer god, and she still came back. She got 3 ghosts.
That seems like a difficult thing to survive, getting eaten by an outer god. That's like winning the lottery if you come back from that. I mean, it's fiction, so at the end of the day, anybody can come back from anything. But yeah, I don't know. But he's a good candidate for to become a Tarbafon minion at some point. Also, what happens to the Black Axe?
The Black Axe, this is really cool because the adventure seeds to me are more interesting than some of the things that happen in the actual adventure. First of all, the Witch Bowl is destroyed, and when it collapses, it's still a dungeon people can explore, so you can have an entire campaign of brand new adventurers come in and try to defeat the demons that are left there. The Black Axe stays at the Ayadara. No one can touch it because of its corrupting influence. That's an entire campaign in itself to get rid of it, that you could build around it, like how to destroy it safely, or how to destroy it at all, because it is an immense artifact of great power. It's slowly seeping into the land.
What if one of the PCs grabs it? Is that they talk about that? I'm just sort of scanning through as we chat.
So, technically, it cannot be wielded by a player unless they deal with the after effects of it, and I have to look up the after effects of it again. I've looked at it once, but Black Axe does a lot of terrible things.
Interesting.
Major artifact. Let's see here.
Yeah, this doesn't say anything about what happens if a player tries to pick it up.
I'm going off of 1E here. Regardless of who would be wielding it at any given moment, Black Axe belongs to a powerful nascent demon lord, even though he's dead, with a strong tie to his favored weapon. Demon can view and affect the world around the axe's bearer. That's not going to happen because he's dead.
Yeah.
Greatest threat. Blah, blah, blah. Should the demon lord be defeated, here it is, Trophy of Ruin, many would seek to claim his dreaded weapon. Chief among them would be the other nascent demon lords, demonic minions, and rivals. Did Treerazer have a rival? Or did he have a clone?
No, he does have a clone. Well,
Yeah.
his clone's also... So I think that it would be reasonable to imagine that there is a player in your play group that is going to be crazy enough to be like, I take the axe.
Yeah. Elves would go to great lengths to see the weapons safely secured if not destroyed. Black Axe is a symbol of a centuries-old blight upon their nation, but most covetous of Black Axe will always be the Demon Lord himself, only to re-emerge when least expected. Maybe undead Treerazer takes it.
That's cool.
So there are possibilities. And there are a lot of things that can happen as the after result of, you know, him actually being destroyed. You can even go back to the dimension with Typhon or Python in it, and you could do a whole adventure about freeing more souls or whatnot, or dealing with him now that you're powerful enough.
Yeah, it feels like this is an adventure that has a lot of potential for follow-ups. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, it talks about if Treerazer wins.
I need to step away for just 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So, Iron, I need to know. Tell me, was it worth it? Is this an AP that's worth running? Did you enjoy it? Did you feel it was a rug pull? Did it meet expectations? Like, what? How are you feeling? How are you feeling about this? Because I wanna see what you guys feel before I say what I say.
Oh, you threw a lot at me all at once.
I did, because I have to keep you busy for 2 minutes.
A distraction.
Yes.
Pocket sand.
Yes, pocket sand.
Honestly, this felt better for the level range than Strength of Thousands did.
Okay, that's a positive.
I mean, there are some things that could slightly be rebalanced to be better, like the book one payoffs with the delegates.
Okay, we did talk about that. We did mention some suggestions. Ryan was very forthcoming with that criticism, and we appreciate him for that.
Oh, absolutely. Those are very good suggestions. I do think it was worth it. Like,
okay,
it will take some navigation for pain points in chapter 2 because the war interludes are weird. Not weird in like they're not really the standard, so it's going to take some like creative adjustment there.
That is where I agree with you, especially with the review I've written, but go on.
But it's not anything that like it is going to take some extra prep work, so some of those war interludes might need maps. But
it just needs a little work. It just needs a little work. Jingle the keys.
Well, I mean, DMing in general,
I can fix it.
It kind of comes down to how much work you're willing to do for your players.
Okay.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think, you know, the more sophisticated that these games have gotten, the more that these games feel like they're like super balanced and super structured and can be run exactly as is. But if you come from a slightly older generation, as I do, then you're kind of just used to like, having to do a pretty substantive amount of work just to make it sort of playable. And so I think different folks are going to have different standards in terms of like how much work is required for an AP to be playable. And it does feel like this one needs a lot of work, but for someone like me, I think that's generally okay.
So you have mentioned this before, that you are an old school player and whatnot. To me, you feel like the same as any generation player because of your attitudes and how you behave at the table. To me, you keep projecting that you're older than you actually are. You're not out of touch at all. You know exactly what goes on at a table. You are very much in tune with the player and DM experience. That is my takeaway from it. I don't feel like you're so removed like I would feel, like some people would be for what you're saying. I don't believe that at all. I believe you are with the concurrent player base, even if you don't.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think the interesting thing about the origins of D&D as a game, and now I'm going older than me as well, right? Because really, I would say I started playing in the kind of mid '90s, um, and I've been playing pretty continuously ever since. And obviously, third edition is kind of my preferred edition. Was sort of my preferred edition.
Mhm.
Came out in the 2000, well, in the year 2000, in fact. So that was kind of that almost hit the sweet spot for me in terms of where I was in my gaming background. But if you go back even further than that, and you go back to the '70s and the kind of the origins of D&D as a hobby, there's a really interesting thing, which is it's pre-internet. So so basically, you'd buy the book, and then you'd find a group of friends, and you'd start playing. And I caught some of this, um, but not as much as some of my seniors, but more of this than some of my juniors. Which is you'd find a group, you'd start playing, and then you'd meet a new group, and you found that they were playing a completely different game from you.
Yes.
And right, because everybody was teaching themselves in isolation, and so you just have this. There wasn't a rule about what was the right way to play, right? And I think these days there's a feeling that maybe there is a right way to play or a wrong way.
An optimized
And
way, yes.
yeah, and I definitely that when I say I'm kind of a grognard, that's really what I'm talking about. Is the fact that I'm like, I forget what it was. We were chatting in Discord, and someone was like, "Hey, you know that you're supposed to be an expert in first edition Pathfinder, but you're playing Asimar wrong because they're not supposed to be affected by charm person because they're
Yeah.
subtype outside." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, so they are. Well, they're PC, so it'll affect them."
Yes.
I was just like break the rules because that feels right to me. And
Well,
I realize that not everybody plays that way, where the GM is God and kind of just decides.
so that has happened to me before when I do things like Eberron and whatnot, where elves can't be slept, but I still say in a narrative sense they can still experience what a dream is. Some players are not very cooperative with that, and with that I just bide my time and go like, okay, you have the final say. I'm just the narrator. That's more my style, where it's just like if a player disagrees, it's just like, well, I have to move on. I cannot dwell on this, and I cannot single people out for knowing the system better than I do, or for giving me an impression of their character that they want to be known as.
Yeah. Also, I think the other thing is you GM professionally, right? So like,
Oh God, no,
and
Iron. D-
oh, you don't?
no, no, God, no, I am not a professional. But the fact that you think I am is highly a compliment. Is a high compliment. Thank you, sir.
I thought you were. I thought you were a professional GM.
No. But the fact that you thought so, I'm flattered.
Because I often wonder for folks that are professional GMs, that's a very different relationship as well.
It
Because I
is.
think if you right, if players have, especially if they've paid you to be a part of the game, um, then you kind of let them sort of run the show to a certain extent because they're a client in a way.
Yes. It
Whereas
changes the
I think
relationship.
it does. It changes the relationship. Whereas I'm quite selective with my players. I do like a bit of an interview. I kind of check to see
Yes.
if they're going to vibe with my group, and
Mm-hmm.
we've added a couple new players for Bloodlords, and we've had a couple of players drop out from the last game, and we've just done kind of our first little meet and greet session, and I really like everybody that's joined. But I definitely like have a discussion up front where it's like, this is a collaborative storytelling session, but
Yes.
I'm the god at the table. Okay, I'm the great old one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And what I say goes. And so if I've got a player that's not in tune with that, then that probably isn't going to work for me from a play relationship standpoint, right?
Yeah. So, Iron can attribute to this. I do have an interview process. I am a free DM, and if someone doesn't vibe with me, I do take people at random because I like having GMs especially that never get the chance to play a chance to play.
Yeah.
And it really does mean a lot. So if someone doesn't vibe at the table, for me, they remove themselves because they sort of give the impression to either the other players or themselves. It's just like, I'm not meshing. This guy is being highly supportive of me, but something doesn't feel right. So for me, those players tend to remove themselves. I do have the interview process where I can pick out players that definitely won't work, but it's always a good thing for me not to grow stagnant in that sense, because I feel like if a player does not challenge me, then I'm not going anywhere as a DM. That's where I like to be on my toes. I want
That makes
players
sense.
to say no to me sometimes.
Yeah, and I'll have. Well, to be fair, I very rarely have disagreements with my players, but I think um, we'll discuss things. We'll often like table discussions and like sort of agree to things mutually, or like I'll have one-on-ones, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like especially character deaths, that's a perfect example of this. If you have a character die at the table, often it'll be like, what are we gonna do? I really like this character. There's some stuff that we haven't figured out yet.
yeah,
And I'll just be like, you know what, let's finish this dungeon crawl with the rest of the group. Sorry that you're going to be out of it for a minute. If there's like an NPC going around, maybe they can pick up the NPC for a minute. And then at the end of the session, I'll be like, let's chat and let's figure out how we want to do this. Because there's so many options, right? There's resurrection.
oh yeah,
There's he comes back as undead. Sometimes I do like a critical injury, like maybe the he survived, but he suffered, he like lost an arm or something. I don't know.
ooh,
I'll do that type of thing
okay,
because I'm a narratively oriented person, and
yes,
uh, I don't treat the game as like a video game where if you've died, it's not like a honor mode Baldur's Gate where if you died, it's over. Your
yeah,
character can't come back because you there's no save point, right?
yeah, yeah,
Really, it's what makes sense of the story. You want something like that to have a consequence, but you want to make sure that your player's enjoying it. So,
uh,
um, yeah,
And
I'll
this
work those
made
out.
me this made me think of one of the first questions that I asked during my session 0 for my Triumph of the Tusk group, because
ooh,
I wanted to gauge how they thought character deaths should go. Because you get some players who are like super attached to their characters and their backstories, even at level 3.
oh yeah, and they do their entire life story and basically decide everything that character will be able to do and how they interact and stuff. Like they have put too much investment. They have front loaded the character.
But we have a plan. They don't know what the plan is.
Uh-huh. Is it
It,
Tarbathon?
maybe.
Okay.
There are definitely some possible extraplanar shenanigans that may or may not happen.
That's fair. That's fair. Tony has died 12 times in my game, and every time he's just like, well, new character. It's just like, I don't even have to tell him anything, and he doesn't discuss anything with me. He is a forever GM that has found a place in my games for, I think, like the last 9 or 10 campaigns. He is just so grateful and pleasant to have, and he is thankful to be able to play. Like, I have never had anyone as accommodating or kind as Tony, and he really has felt it on the other end of the GM stick, where it's just like, you know what? I accept this.
Yeah, it is tough as a forever GM. I've been in that boat for a while now. I do love to be a player, but even running just one game is a ton of work. I don't know how you do it. You run like 3 or 4.
Oh
That's
yes.
like wild to me.
So the way I prep, and we did do a recording on this with how to prep, because Quaid is a military man who just basically got back into the reserves and whatnot. So he's still very, very busy, and he has a second job, and he's running multiple campaigns as well. He's running Abomination Vaults, and he's going to be doing the Drift Crisis, where I am a player. He's the way that we prep things, we are very much in tune with a specific type of player and the style that we have.
Yeah.
We're afforded luxuries because we have certain players that we always go back to, like Tony. So in that sense, they do the prep for us. Like, it's more of a shared experience, like you were saying, with the cooperative storytelling.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So we have good people, and it's not just our ability as a DM to prep and whatnot, but we do a lot of work. We do a lot of work during the week. This is where our free time goes. Sometimes we're up at like 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. if we can't sleep, and it's just like, I've planned out this entire chapter. Excellent. Less work.
Yeah, I also do a thing. I think I've talked about this with you before, where I'll do a little bit of prep before character creation is done. But like, for example, for Bloodlords, like I've scanned through the books, but I don't do deep prep until I know what the players are going to play. So right now,
Exactly.
I've got 3 or 4 concepts from my players, so I kind of know where they're going. But the minute those are firmed up, that's when I'm going to do my deep prep, because I don't know how to tie in their backstory and stuff until I hear what they want to do. But
Yeah,
one of my
it's
players is doing something absolutely wild, and I'm not even going to say it because someday that's going to be on the channel.
that's fine.
It's
That's
too
fine.
cool. But yeah, I think there'll be some good characters for that one.
So if ever you're willing to like, let me know on Discord or whatnot, and you take a look at our playthrough, because we had quite a raucous playthrough. That they kept it very lighthearted as Bloodlords. They were evil, but they weren't cringe evil. That's what we agreed on. Like, they could make the tough decisions for Geb, but they weren't going to cross any lines.
Yeah, I mean, I one thing I said to my players in prepping Bloodlords is, I said, look, I've read through this AP, and I've seen a lot of talk online about how it's an evil AP. It's not. It's
It
just
isn't.
not an evil AP. You guys are essentially heroes. The overarching plot is that, like, there's warmongers within Geb that
Yeah.
are trying to create conflict, and you're essentially opposed to them. Now, the society is corrupt, and there's a lot of evil in the society, but by and large, it doesn't really run like an evil campaign, and I'm probably not going to run it as such. So I don't quite know what the tone is going to be yet. It's not going to be as silly as what we do in the shadows,
Oh
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not going to be like morbidly dark either. It's gonna have some humor. It's going to be somewhere in the middle there. I think it's you got to strike that balance with something like Bloodlords, where it's like, hey, these people are just living their unlives.
Yes, yes, yes. So before we
It should be
close, oh, sorry.
no. I'm just rambling. Go
No,
on.
that's perfectly fine. You can ramble away, sir. I could listen for hours. So before we close, I have to know, because the live stream for Piazzo has started, and we've pretty much finished the discussion. As the Myth Keeper, is this an AP worth running? Do you feel like did it pull the rug out from under us? Did it meet expectations? Like, how do you feel about this AP? Because I will tell you what I feel after you and Iron have told me what you felt. And Iron has already said what he feels. I need to know, like, was this the elves AP? Like, did it meet expectations? How do you feel?
So I think yes, this is an AP that I like a lot. I think it is 100% an AP that at some point I'm going to run.
Okay.
I don't know for sure if I'm going to do what you did and mix it with Wardens of Wildwood or something else. I feel like Treerazer is a villain deserving of bigger kind of 6-book AP, and I feel like the war interludes can be expanded on, and there's a lot of ideas here. But one thing I will say is that this is an ambitious AP. It's an AP that matters, which not all of them do. You know,
Okay.
I think about some APs like the Mammoth Lords one, and it's like, okay, it exists.
Oh, you
I,
also know of the ending to Mammoth Lords. Okay.
you know, I just think I don't know that anybody was clamoring for that AP, and it's not at the top of my list of APs that I want to run. But this one, if nothing else, the subject matter is really great. I think they've included some cool stuff. There's some tie-ins to other characters, some tie-ins to Second Darkness. I think there's a lot of room to be expanded on. So overall, I'm satisfied with what I've seen of Spore War.
Okay. Okay. So you both give me your impressions. We'll get Podfinder's impression afterwards once he's done dealing with his family stuff, and I wish him the very best. Family is a priority. What I feel about the AP, I was expecting more war. I think they overused the infiltration subsystem, and I think that a lot of the adventure seeds are more interesting than some of the things we've done. Some of the war interludes, like the possession infection, were more interesting than some of the skirmishes and battles that we actually got. So I feel it's a little disjointed. And what you said about the 6 adventure AP, that's kind of what I'm doing with Wardens of Wildwood, because I inserted Treerazer as the driving force that killed the Archdruid, that instated Rosadoya's power, that, you know, turned the druids of the Verduran kind of like into the bad guys as sort of his preparatory work for Keonan.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So I very much had the idea of what I wanted to happen, and it was either going to be Treerazer or Tyrbafon, and because of the timing, it turned out to be Treerazer. And now, Bramble's list of gripes, because there are a lot of them with this AP, and I apologize for this. I will only gripe for a few minutes. I promise. Only a little griping. Only a little. Just a few. So, Drow have been completely replaced in the story by Serpent Folk. Serpent Folk were the instigators for Second Darkness now, or was it Cavern Elves? Because Cavern Elves were brought into the story late in 2023 with Treasure Vault, and they're kind of rare and not seen. I feel like there could have been more influence from Serpent Folk or Cavern Elves. At least Cavern Elves, like, oh, what did I have here? There's basically like a small contingent of them that are forced to the surface, and they go like, well, we have to help them, otherwise Treerazer is going to destroy the Underdark, because there are all these bombs down here. We still didn't do anything about the wards protecting the other Jaharlu spears. There are bombs all over Keonan. There was no dead man switch on Treerazer to set those bombs off in case he died. It's just like, I'm taking you all with me. It's just, there was none of that.
Yeah.
So we just forgot about the Jaharlu spores, and they were the major beat of book 1, and they were just included as an afterthought in book 2 by James. That whole deal about the wards protecting them, it still bugs me, but still. So no Serpent Folk. I feel like the Serpent Folk should have been supporting Treerazer. I feel like they're very big Demon Lord supporters. I feel like they could have benefited from Treerazer doing this.
I got to be honest. I'm not sure that Serpent Folk have officially replaced the elves that they fought in Second Darkness.
Okay.
I think there's a bit of conflicting information in the Dwarf AP. There were I saw some information around the Cavern Elves. And also I think they get referenced a little bit in the High Helm supplement as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like for a minute there that there was an idea that they were the elves of Zirnakainen, who are evil and do worship demons. And then
Yes.
there are the rest of the elves called the Cavern Elves, which are which people don't know about and maybe have been mischaracterized and are more secretive. And then I think after High Helm and the other book came out, they did remaster, and they were like, well, maybe we get rid of the Drow, we maybe get rid of the Dark Elves altogether. And so what's kind of happened right now is I don't think Paizo has actually made a decision about whether Zirnakainen exists, whether it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
And so instead of making that decision in this AP, they just decided to steer clear of the whole topic because at some point they'll do a Darklands supplement. They'll
Yes.
make an actual. So that's what I think is going on. So I think it feels like it's something missing, and I agree with you.
Hmm.
And I think they probably talked about it, and we're just like we're not ready to make a decision here,
I
and that's why they said.
I feel like it does suffer a little bit because it feels like while he's doing all these things in the Darklands to prepare over the centuries, it's just like, this is your front yard. You did not notice the very distinct, very flavorful visual demons that say like, oh, that's Treerazer's demon. Ah, okay. Just goes back to reading the paper. Whatever.
Yeah, but I know that if I ran this, I would do something. I would do something with the Darklands.
Oh,
I don't know
yes.
what, but I would do something with the Darklands. Yeah.
For my Cavern Elf that Tony's playing, his inventor, and the other one that's a rogue archer, I feel very much like they would at least become part of the fight, because being elves themselves, it's just like the bombs are going to explode upwards and downwards. There's no only one way exploding bomb. So yeah, they
Yeah, I also think realistically, like if you're using the traditional canon of Pathfinder, ignoring any potential retcons for a minute,
yeah.
that essentially before Second Darkness, Keonin was a more insular looking country because of the Winter Council. And then after Second Darkness, uh, Queen Telandia sort of reinvented herself and decided, there's a bit of a Wakanda theme here, right? We're not
Yes.
going to just look to our own borders. We're now going to look outwards. We're going to open the country up a little bit more. We're going to invite people to this confederation of countries that we're setting up here, the Encarthan Circuit. Also, I've taken a husband or fiance or whatever, and
That's
he's from
yeah.
he's one of the Moalaje. So there's an opening of the borders, and so you have to imagine in that context that Telandia would also look to build bridges with the Cavern Elves. Like that would have to be part of her agenda.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that is my final gripe, sir. Her consort is nowhere to be seen, nor are the people who could potentially help support her. I feel like that was a missed opportunity, because in her back matter, he's mentioned as an afterthought, like the wedding can't take place if Treerazer destroys the Ayadara. It's just like he's not gonna help.
Yeah, his fiance's been kidnapped, and he's like, "Good luck, heroes."
It's just like, help, get him back, otherwise we can't have the wedding. Also, the Aydara will be destroyed.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah. So those are my gripes, and I feel like they're at least valid enough that I if I didn't have Wardens of Wildwood and I wasn't as invested in that as I wouldn't even be looking at this AP. But it worked out in such a way that I feel like I could tie it in, and the adventure seeds themselves are very, very good. I feel like a lot of work was put into this AP after Treerazer died. I feel like we were trying to get to that point in the meta plot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I think we touched on everything.
Yeah, I think so too. This was great. Thanks so much for having me back for a third time. These are always fun. This is Blight to do.
You are extremely welcome, sir. You helped me build a more structured show when all we used to do was just read from the AP. And it just, it feels more natural this way. And I really want to thank you for your contribution to it. In fact, I have been putting my personal time into a project that will benefit you and other players. And I hope that you, when you see it, you really feel my appreciation for the time that you've given us.
Can I, is this the Starfinder lore video that you've been working on?
It is. And I really hope it is something that at least lets people dip their toe into Starfinder. I'm not going to elaborate too much. I'm just making it as a starting point for people.
I'm just going to say I'm super excited for it. I will say that I probably, once every couple of weeks, somebody comments on the channel, hey, you're going to do Starfinder. And I've always been like, maybe eventually, just because there's so much lore just with Pathfinder that if I were to ever do a Starfinder video, it would take a minute to get there. I feel like I'm a completionist by nature. I want to get through all the Pathfinder stuff. So I'm so glad that I'm going to have potentially somewhere to point people for some Starfinder lore.
I am grateful for that, sir. You really helped to inspire me. Iron, Mythkeeper, could you please tell me who you are and where to find you and your work?
Iron, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first this time. I am Iron Bear Jones. You can find me over on Blue Sky under ironbearjones.bsky.social. I don't know if you could call what I do work, but if you want to see any of that, you can check my WordPress blog at ironbeargames.wordpress.com, where I am actually working on something new for Monday.
Oh, nice.
And including trying to take a break from writing the longer campaign I've been writing.
On Sothis.
Yes, with smaller one-shots in the same region.
I think that's a great idea.
It's very cool. And I'm the Mythkeeper, the best place on the internet for Pathfinder lore and history. You can find me at youtube.com/@themythkeeper.
I am very excited to see where Chapter 4 of War for the Crown goes. And thank you so much again to both of you for joining me tonight. I had fun, and we made a lot of progress. You guys made me think about the structure of things. Overall, this was great. We'll get back with Podfinder afterwards, but I want to check out that live that's going on right now as well.
That's good. Bye, guys.